Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on our YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and this is the show where every day we talk about the things that we love, the things that make us happy, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all that good stuff. Joining me in this celebration of happy, all the way from the Observatory, writer, director, producer, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing today, sir?
John, a viewer just told me that there's going to be a Project Hail Mary Lego set, so all is right with the world.
That's a pretty easy one to do for Rocky.
I know,
think
right?
like just 3 or 4 pieces and you got yourself a Rocky in there. And we're going to be talking about a little bit of Project Hail Mary in the show, as well as a few other things. And here's how today's show's going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a number of predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show is when we take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, question you'd like us to address, go ahead and use the super chat feature and send it on in. And as long as it's appropriate to be addressed on the show, we'll address it in the second half of the show. Oh, and by the way, just so you know, there are already a bunch of super chats that have come in. So if you have a super chat you want to send in, do it relatively soon because I'll be turning off the super chats probably sometime in the next 15 or 20 minutes or so. All right, guys. With that all down, let's get things started off here today with this, shall we? You know, one of the movies that we saw a preview for back at CinemaCon of last year, and that all the trailers that have come out since have just got me really excited about it, is this brand new Sam Raimi film, Send Help. This looked fantastic. And what could have easily just devolved into looking like another, a plane crashes and they're stuck on an island. Haven't seen that before, kind of thing, which you'd be forgiven if that was kind of your first thought about it. But as you watch the trailers and the previews, it just looks like this great psychological thriller. And of course, you got good Canadian girl, Rachel McAdams in there leading the way on it. I thought the character work looked great. I just thought everything looked really fantastic. And I'm a big fan of Sam Raimi, so I've been really excited about checking it out. Well, it's all good to think trailers look okay, but then you got to wait until the reviews themselves come out. And the reviews are now out. And they're pretty great. As of this recording, Send Help is holding a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes with over 50 reviews already being registered. So let's go over and take a look at some of these reviews, shall we? Metro wrote, McAdams and Dylan O'Brien clearly relish letting rip in the gleefully vicious Send Help, which entertains, horrifies, that shouldn't surprise us with it being a Sam Raimi film, and makes painfully salient points about work culture equally. More genre mashups like this should be made. I welcomed every spurt of blood. Slant Magazine liked it, saying, this is an immensely effective tropical island set chamber drama in which 2 characters see their gender and labor relations start to reverse in ways that eventually reveal surprising ambiguities. The Dum Dums wrote, what works so well about the great and relatable premise is the story of advancements which could easily be predictable since it could write itself, and the over-the-top Raimi violence is the icing on top. AV Movie Guy wrote, no matter what, Sam Raimi has taken us back to genre movie paradise. Send Help is an absolutely unhinged splash. The Hot Button wrote, Send Help has some big surprises, but the core plays the 2 actors pretty perfect. The director loves to push it, though in this case, not far enough to scare people away. And Rachel McAdams can't stop watching her. Our friend Jeremy Johns wrote, in the end, solid thriller here. Culture Mix wrote, this viciously funny horror comedy is not a typical stranded on an island story. The movie taps into rage that employees can feel when they have a horrible boss, and it shows what can happen when a downtrodden person gets the upper hand. Cosmic Circus wrote, there are so many singular images in Raimi's latest that seem too perfect or what we've come to know and love from the filmmaker without feeling like he's outright copying himself or anyone else for that matter. The folks over at Dread Central wrote, Sam Raimi's Send Help is an enjoyable, uneven survival thriller that plays out safer than necessary. CNET wrote it, or liked it, saying, suspense, horror, and wild action and dark humor make this a must-see film. And then we got a negative one. We got our first one that didn't like it. The folks over at Screen Anarchy wrote, Send Help works as a comedy every so often, whether it's because of Raimi's penchant for making violence downright goofy or the star's charisma, but it's so overlong and stagnant as anything else that the majority of it is just a slog. Now, the rest all seem to be positive there as well, but I wanted to make sure we threw in a negative one there as well. Anyway, Rob, when we first saw the previews for this, like, it kind of caught us off guard because at first it just looks like a workplace thriller. And then the airplane crash happens and then it totally went off on another direction. And then all of a sudden, who looked like was the good guy and who was the bad guy in the opening of the previews kind of changes roles, where maybe the bad guy becomes our hero and our good guy becomes the threat, the villain. I mean, I don't know. It plays with a lot of things. I'm thrilled to see the reviews for it, though. It seems like across the board, they're saying it is funny and horrifying. All the things a good Sam Raimi film should be that's not called Spider-Man. So I'm loving what I'm hearing. Anyway, Rob, where's your expectations been for Send Help? Where's your enthusiasm level been? And what are you taking away from these reviews we've been getting here?
Well, Sam Raimi, obviously the first time I ever saw a Sam Raimi movie was in the early 80s. Stephen King was talking about The Evil Dead, and I'm like, yeah, we'll see. And then I went to see that in a theater. It blew me away. Been a fan ever since, even when he did things that nobody remembers, like the XYZ murders. I'm a huge Stephen King fan. I'm a huge Sam Raimi fan. I was lucky to work on Army of Darkness as a makeup effects PA. And, when Sam Raimi's working in the thriller space, whether he's adapting Scott Smith's novel A Simple Plan, which I think is a terrific film, or doing a bonkers horror movie like Drag Me to Hell, I love that Sam Raimi. And this looks like the a cross between Drag Me to Hell and A Simple Plan kind of Sam Raimi, where he's not afraid to go all in with the blood and the violence, but he also has a point to make. He delves into the darker areas of human nature. I like to see this movie coming out from 20th Century Studios. It's nice to see them putting something out that's original, that's not a sequel or an IP film. This is an original film coming from Sam. I love the fact that Sam Raimi had a good time working with Rachel McAdams on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and this is the result of that. I mean, I really like her as an actress, as a talent, and she looks like she's having an absolute ball in this movie. I'm seeing it Friday. I already have my tickets. I'm going to see it in 4DX and 3D. So I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, to me, once again, it just looks like it's got that Sam Raimi intensity. And just when you can see Rachel McAdams when she's in the office setting, you just feel like there's going to be opportunities for humor within the horror and the thrills and the tension. And again, that's just kind of peak Sam Raimi. Like, that's when he's really in his environment. I love the fact that you brought up Drag Me to Hell, which is, like, I think one of his most underappreciated movies. And this really does seem like kind of a spiritual offspring of that a little bit. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think of these reviews that we're getting for Send Help? I think they look absolutely fantastic. Again, as of this recording, a 93% rating. Are you guys planning on going to see it? What are your expectations? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? A movie I loved, oh God, I want to say, help me out, movie date guy. I'm going to say 2008. A movie I loved back in 2008 was the Angelina Jolie, James McAvoy film, Wanted. I'm a sucker for that film. I even like, Rob, The Loom of Fate. Yeah, I know a lot of people were with the movie right up until the Loom of Fate came into it. I don't care. I loved me the Loom of Fate. I loved this movie. And for a long time, they always kind of talked about the fact that they would like to do a sequel to it. But, the years have come and gone. I think we're on 18 years now. the years have come and gone with still kind of no word about it. But according to the director of the film, he's now saying that they very well could still do another one. This comes to us from the folks over at Coming Soon who write the following. They say, nearly 2 decades after Wanted first arrived in theaters, talk of a sequel has resurfaced. This follows new comments from the director, now I always get this wrong, Timur Bekmambetov. And, I can say it a little easier now that I watch a lot of UFC. The filmmaker has suggested that Wanted 2 is not entirely off the table. However, the sequel depends on certain conditions. Speculation about Wanted 2 has resurfaced after the director shared new details about what might finally move the long-stalled project forward. The 2008 action thriller, headlined by Angelina Jolie alongside James McAvoy and Morgan Freeman, has remained without a sequel for more than a decade despite its strong commercial performance. Bekmambetov recently addressed the project while promoting his new release, Mercy, the one with Chris Pratt, Rob, the movie that you loved so much.
Oh, yeah, no.
I think it's
I'm a fan
automatic.
of the directors.
Already in your top 10 of the year. I can already tell. He explained that the future of several of his past franchises may depend on how the 2026 sci-fi film performs. He said, Mercy's performance will help me make more interesting movies. In an interview with Screen Rant, he said, I have an idea of what it is, but it depends a lot on the success of Mercy, honestly. All these movies could be continued, but Mercy is crucial. It's at the mercy of Mercy. All right. So now here's the thing. Timur Bekmambetov. How do you say it, Rob? I've always just said Bekmambetov. Anyway.
Yeah. Timur Bekmambetov?
Bekmambetov? Anyway, he's directed some interesting films. Right now, he's also directed some pretty bad ones. Like, remember that remake they did of Ben-Hur back in like 2016, 2017?
I do remember it. I choose not to.
That was absolutely terrible. He also did Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which could have been comedy gold, but it ended up being pretty good. But he also did Night Watch. He did Day
Those
Watch.
Are cool.
Those are really fun movies. I like those a
Yeah.
lot. And he also did, obviously, Wanted, which I dig a whole bunch. But to say that the future of Wanted 2 that he wants to do may rest in the hands of his new film Mercy is a little bit of an uh-oh. Because while Mercy did open number 1 at the box office, finally ending the 5-week run, 4 or 5-week run of Avatar Fire and Ash at the top of the box office, it did only make $11 million. And I don't know if a high-profile project with Chris Pratt in the lead, again, coming in number 1, but making $11 million is exactly going to further the cause of getting what I want, which is a Wanted 2. By the way, Wanted was the first film that made me think, oh my God, could Angelina Jolie actually be an action star? And you know what? She hasn't done it a lot, but every time she's stepped into the role of an action star, whether it's Eternals or Salt or stuff like that, she sells me on it. Thank you. How could I leave that one out? Like, I could totally see her doing it. But Rob, if the future of Wanted 2 is at the mercy of Mercy, I fear there may be no mercy. So I don't think this is ever going to happen. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm excited to hear the director say, hey, this thing's still alive. But if it all depends on the success of Mercy, I think we might as well bury it now. I don't know. What do you think about his comments?
Pretty merciless, if you ask me. Look, obviously, in this day and age, you're only as good as your last film, and I don't know what the budget on Mercy is, but I'm sure that Chris Pratt probably commanded more than it made over its opening weekend. And I do think that Mercy was actually, on one hand, I think it was really clever, and if it had been made for a price, and because it's basically Chris Pratt sitting in a chair, if it had been made like a Searching, not like a War of the Worlds, then maybe it could have been more. I mean, obviously it's a pretty lush film, but I think it cost more than it was ever going to make. So that's kind of a bummer. So I feel bad for that. But, I want to say one of the things about Wanted that I think is so great that people forget about is the Danny Elfman score. He scored the film, and of course, he did the opening. There's a theme song, The Little Things, that is a banger song that he sings. It sounds very Oingo Boingo, and I really love that score, and I think it really added to the movie. I mean, the movie is a little goofy, and it really departs from the comic, but like you said, as a visual piece, I own the film. I pop it in occasionally because I quite enjoy it, even though it's a little bonkers. There's some verisimilitude that's very questionable in the movie. But I would love to see a sequel to this, even 18 years later. And I don't see why it has to. I mean, obviously, for a director nowadays, if you make one bad movie that doesn't gross what it should, or multiple bad movies, I guess. I mean, why would anybody remake Ben-Hur? But I would like this, John. I would like to see a Wanted 2, or more Wanted than ever.
More Wanted than ever. Okay, you win. You win today. You win today with More Wanted than ever. Yeah, man, listen, bring Common back. Bring Chris. By the way, one of the things he did mention that Timur mentioned in the interview was that Chris Pratt's character would have a larger role. I mean, that goes without saying because now he's a big star and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of people forget that like, for a lot of people like me, that was the first time I ever saw Chris Pratt.
Right.
Was his little side role back in Wanted. Anyway, I would love to see another Wanted, but
maybe he did Mercy for a price.
Yeah.
Maybe he did.
I'm sure he probably did it for pretty cheap.
Kind of a deal.
It looks like he could have done that movie in about a week, honestly. So he probably didn't do it for that much. But anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, it's been a long time since that first Wanted movie, but I don't care. I love Wanted. I would love to see another one, but if it depends on the success of Mercy, I don't know that we're ever going to get it. Anyway, whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? It's not an exaggeration to say that the one big piece of success that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has had over the past couple of years, they made some great movies, some great movies, some not so good ones too, but they made some great ones like Shang-Chi, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. We were just talking about Chris Pratt, but easily their crowning achievement in the last couple of years, as far as success goes, has got to be Deadpool and Wolverine. The movie that came out, and in the midst of all the problems the Marvel Cinematic Universe was having, it kind of showed it there was still life there, and it ended up making $1.3 something billion, becoming, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, or guys in the live chat, but I believe the highest grossing R-rated film in history. I think it surpassed Joker to become like the highest grossing R-rated film in the world. Again, people in the live chat, correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I mean, it's just, the movie did everything a good Marvel film should do. It delighted, it excited, had great memorable moments and lines. I mean, it was just everything I wanted from a Deadpool film, and it delivered. So he's kind of been the one thing that's kept them afloat for a little while. However, there's been a lot of discussion also over the last year or two about whether or not there would actually be a Deadpool 4. Now, we saw reports in Variety a while ago that talked about the fact that he's not really interested in a Deadpool 4. If he was ever going to do another thing with Deadpool, it would probably be putting Deadpool in something as a supporting character, all that kind of stuff. Well, you guys might have seen a lot of headlines running around today that Deadpool, or that Ryan Reynolds right now is focusing on Deadpool 4. This comes to us from the folks over at CBR who wrote, Reynolds had a brief interaction with the role of the Merc with the Mouth in 2009's X-Men Origins Wolverine, which of course is not one of the prouder moments of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or of the Fox universe, and a different stint with DC's Green Lantern, but his success only came after 2016's Deadpool. As fans are still impatient to find out when Reynolds puts on the spandex again for Deadpool, a new report claims it might be soon. According to Puck, which of course is Matt Bellani's outlet, according to Puck, Reynolds is currently prioritizing his next Deadpool project. How that will look like is still uncertain. Ryan Reynolds had previously discussed how demanding a project like a superhero film is, so he admitted his next Deadpool project would make the Merc with the Mouth the member of an ensemble group instead of the protagonist of Deadpool 4. He had Wolverine in the 2024 hit Deadpool and Wolverine, but he's expected to expand this group. Is that too late for him to join? Is it too late for him to join Avengers Doomsday? All right, so like the big report coming out of Puck, it was kind of half buried in a larger story about some other stuff going on. But the line that basically got everybody's attention was Ryan Reynolds right now is focusing on Deadpool 4. So here's all I can really add to this in any kind of like legitimate way, is that to the best of my knowledge, and again, that is limited, admittedly. Okay, so let me throw that out there. To the best of my knowledge, this isn't true. Now, again, we've had those reports from Variety, which I think were accurate, saying that, you know, Ryan has talked about, yeah, he's open to doing more stuff with Deadpool, but the days of like doing Deadpool 4, Deadpool 5 are probably behind him. And if he does do something else with Deadpool, it's probably going to be with Deadpool in something of a smaller supporting role than anything else. So again, to the best of my knowledge, this report, and by the way, Puck is very reliable. Do not misinterpret this as me casting any shade on Puck or anything like that. Not at all. They're great. They're one of my favorite outlets. But to the best of my knowledge, which is admittedly limited, Ryan Reynolds is not focusing all of his attention right now on doing a Deadpool 4. To the best of my knowledge, that's just not true. Now, that being said, Deadpool is absolutely one of my favorite characters. I'll go so far as to say this. He's not just one of my favorite characters, you know, in the movies or in Marvel movies. He's one of my favorite characters in movies. I just find the character infinitely entertaining. Rob, that moment in Deadpool and Wolverine, there's about 20 to 25 moments that I literally have to lean over laughing. Like I got to hold my gut. I'm laughing so hard. But I think the moment, and I'm not going to quote it correctly here, I'm going to paraphrase it. That moment when he's standing in the TVA and they explain to him that they want to bring him into the Prime universe. And he's like, 1 second. And he runs down the hallway to an awaiting camera and he grabs the camera and goes, "Get fucked, Fox. I'm going to Disneyland," or whatever. I just laughed my ass off. Like and that movie is just filled with those. I would love to see more. I would be perfectly happy for the next 10 years to have a Deadpool sequential film, Deadpool 4, Deadpool 5, Deadpool 6, every 2 years for the next decade until Ryan Reynolds decides to hang it up. I just love the character. I think he's a great fit and everything. We have always talked about how actually fitting him into the Marvel Cinematic Universe with the very nature of the character would be challenging. Absolutely. But I would love to see more, but it's just, to the best of my knowledge, Rob, I don't think this is true right now. Anyway, you saw the reports. How do you see Deadpool fitting into a larger scale, you know, Marvel Cinematic Universe? And would you like to see more Deadpool sequential films?
Well, look, I mean, I think the first Deadpool is a really great movie. The way they, it was a superhero film. It was a romance. It was a tragedy. It was a redemption story, and it was hilarious and a great action film. I really loved it. And you know, Deadpool and Wolverine were hoots, obviously. And I love Ryan Reynolds playing the character. I can't imagine somebody. I don't see how you can reboot. I mean, look, you can always reboot and recast, sure, but it's so is Ryan Reynolds. But I would love to see more Deadpool movies. As a matter of fact, I can see, you know, if they follow after Secret Wars, if they really do get rid of the multiverse, Deadpool could be the only character that even remembers that there was a multiverse, which in itself could be hilarious. You know, the jokes he could run around doing in the new universe, trying to figure out, well, you're not the X-Men I remember, you know, or whatever. I mean, it could be a running joke how the new X-Men never live up to the old X-Men, or so. I don't know what it would be, but it would be hilarious. And I think that the character, I mean, obviously you don't throw away a character whose last movie made $1.5 billion. You just don't do that. And the interesting thing with the Deadpool movies is there is, the first one at $65 million is relatively small. So you don't have to make some $250 million movie to make a Deadpool film that's effective. If you've got a great story, you can do a Deadpool movie. I'm not saying you have to make it for 65 million, but it could be, Marvel could be, if they want to make a film that's not as expensive, but they know is going to make a lot of money, it's a way to continue the character and not have to rely on making $1 billion every time you go to the box office. But it's a film that even the first one made what, 750 million?
Yeah, I think like
$65 million spend.
The first two, both I believe made right in between like $740 and $800 million each, and then made that big jump up to 1.3 billion.
That's amazing. I mean, that's a really lucrative franchise. You can't let that go if he wants to make more. Right?
I guess that's the question is, what we've heard from him, I don't know that he wants to make more.
I mean,
that's
again,
the thing.
you've made 3. And I would say this, judging by, we've now seen 4 teasers for the tone of what they're going for Doomsday and Secret Wars. I don't know if adding Deadpool to that mix is what they're looking for, because obviously Deadpool does not follow that tone. But we'll see. And I mean, look, I'm not going to lie. I would love to see Deadpool confront Dr. Doom in a Secret Wars movie. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see him go head to head. I don't know if they have plans to bring Deadpool into Secret Wars. I have no idea, but it'd be cool if they did.
Listen, I also have no idea if we're going to see Deadpool in Secret Wars, but that would be a really good place to put him.
I know.
Like this whole notion too, like if you go back, because you alluded to this, but if you go back to like my all-time favorite story that's ever been in comic books, which is Age of Apocalypse, the fact that you had this one MacGuffin character, you had Bishop, because you had to have the one character after the events that happened with Legion. Right. You had to have the one character that carried the memories of the world before everything got changed. And we have that in the comic book of Secret Wars, but to have Deadpool kind of be that character, it just opens up a lot of possibilities of some really cool things you could do in Secret Wars. Again, I have no idea if he's going to be in there or not, but look, I do believe we have not seen the last of Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. I don't think we've seen the last of it.
I don't know. I'm sure we haven't.
I just don't think we're going to see. I just don't believe the report that he's currently focused on working on Deadpool 4. And I think when we do see him again, like he said in that interview with Variety, I think it'll be more of a supporting role sort of thing. But we will see. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, again, the biggest success Marvel has had in the last couple of years has been Deadpool. But where do they go now? I don't think he's working on Deadpool 4 like all the reports are now claiming. But when do we see him pop up again? Do you think it could be in Secret Wars? Whatever you guys think, jump down in the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? One of the movies that I, without hesitation or reservation, am absolutely dying to see this year, one of many, is Project Hail Mary. I cannot wait for this film. And, my first exposure to this story was not the book. Robert Meyer Burnett had been telling me for a while, John, you got to check out this book. You got to check out Project Hail Mary. They're going to make a movie about it. It's going to be amazing. My first exposure to it was when they showed us this big presentation for it at CinemaCon last year in Las Vegas. And I went, holy crap, this looks awesome. So I go to Amazon after that, get the audiobook, and I've listened to it no less than 3 times. And oh my God, it is so good. It's just, it draws you along with it. It is so rich and so fantastic. And I just absolutely loved it. The humor, it's incredible. The science. I love stories that elevate intelligence. Hey
Yes.
guys, being smart and being educated is actually a good thing. Like, you don't get a lot of movies that teach that anymore. But there's the way it plays out. You know, it reminds me a lot of his previous work on The Martian, which was also absolutely incredible, peppered with humor and science and drama and thrills. And Project Hail Mary, I absolutely love The Martian. Project Hail Mary has the potential to eclipse that. And I'm really, really stoked about it. Well, anyway, there's been some confusion going around about the runtime. There were reports coming out that was saying it was going to be 2 hours and 46 minutes. Then a counter report came out saying it was going to be like 1 hour and 35 minutes, which is like way off from the first prediction. But now, Phil Lord of Lord and Miller, the guys actually directing the movie, have let us know what it is officially. And it's officially 2 hours and 36 minutes. You can see this from Phil Lord's social media. It says, "We've seen a lot of confusion around the runtime of Project Hail Mary. We're happy to share that it was confirmed to us directly that the official runtime is, here it is, 2 hours and 36 minutes. And yes, we think that length will make a lot of fans very happy." Okay. Rob, you know, to me, the issue of runtime is often not really relevant because longer does not equal better. Shorter does not equal better.
Right.
Every movie by its nature has a runtime that is right for it. For some of those, it'll be 90 minutes is the perfect sweet spot. For some, 2 hours and 45 minutes is the perfect sweet spot. So there's no real thing. But I must confess, after reading and going through Project Hail Mary, the audiobook, I remember after my first listen to it, my thought was, how the hell do you do this in one movie? Like, and I don't often think that after, you know, with certain books when knowing they have movies coming out. I think, yeah, there's the way you structure this, you include this, you don't include that. Rob, after I got through it the first time, and then after I got through it the second time, I asked myself again, how the hell do they do this in one movie? And after I got through it a third time, I had to ask it again. How the hell do you do this in one movie? So I was really interested to see what the runtime would be. I'm happy to see it exceeds 2 hours because, again, I just don't know how you do it. But Rob, as somebody who's been with the book much longer than I have, and somebody who's appreciated this book so much, do you see, from a filmmaker's point of view, structurally how you can do this movie effectively, capture the important parts, and do this in a pretty generous 2.5 hour runtime? How do you see it?
Well, you know, the story it bounces back and forth to Earth and to the situation in the stars. And I could see that when they were trying to cut down the movie, somebody probably said, look, we don't have to go back to Earth so much, even though I think you do, because they've also cast a great actress to play that role. But, you know, the first reports I ever read of the movie was that it was pushing 3 hours. I think World of Real said this almost 6 months ago, and that everybody loved it. I can see that them cutting down, I think 2 hours and 36 minutes shows that Lord Miller, because they know what they have here. Amazon knows what they have here. They probably erred on the side of caution and gave us a really, because the thing about the storyline is it's so compelling. I read the book in one sitting. And I would imagine they probably got the best version of the film possible. And like with The Martian, they can always release an extended cut. I prefer the extended cut of The Martian because you get more of the characters back on Earth, more of the NASA crew, and they had all these great actors. And the extended cut of The Martian to me is what to look at when it comes to Project Hail Mary. And this is Amazon's first big literary adaptation, first big release. I mean, it's a big deal. They got Crime 101 coming out first. So I'm hoping they nailed it, because I don't think Lord and Miller would allow the film to be compromised, because they've already been through that with Solo. So I would imagine, fingers crossed, that they've got it. They've hit the sweet spot, because I can't wait I can't wait to see this. And by the way, John, as an aside, my friend Roberto Suarez made this for me. He's the toy designer, and he made
Ooh.
me Rocky.
Oh my God, he made you Rocky.
Rocky is on a medical. He made me a Rocky with his tool belt and things like that. And it has there's a magnet here. So that's his version of Rocky. So we'll see how it and he made it in this really cool case that he thought, and he even made the logo for the mission.
By the way, I'm glad you brought out Rocky, because I've seen a couple of people in live chat talk about this too. And I just want to throw this out there. You know, when we saw the previews and remember, when we saw them, I had still not read Project Hail Mary.
Right.
So in the previews first got shown to us, and because you go through the first half of it, and it's just like, there's this mission to try to save the world. And then they put in it, and he runs into an alien. That instantly brought up the thing of, oh my God, should you be showing that in the previews?
Yeah, I wish they kind of didn't.
But that was my big thought. And I've seen a lot of other people kind of bring that up too. But after reading the book, you're like,
right.
The alien thing isn't some big twist that comes at the end of the film.
No.
This is a story.
Like chapter 6 or something.
Yeah. This is the story of Ryan Gosling's character and Rocky. That it's their story. And so I don't know. It's not something that happens late in Act 2. No, this is early in the story, and then the whole rest is. So I don't know how you actually promote this film without promoting it for what it is. And what it is, it's a story of, I forget, what is Ryan Gosling's character's name again?
Rylan.
It's him and Rocky. It's their story.
And what I love about, John, I think, and you'll probably back me up on this, it was, how do you communicate with an alien that's so alien that it's not a humanoid looking alien? You don't have a universal translator, and you have to create a language for yourself and a way to communicate, which is of course the language of science. And it's so compelling to watch a populist action adventure science fiction first contact story, but it is so smart. And that was what made it so compelling, is how do you talk to each other when you don't have there's no commonality except the predicament you're in. And I think they're going to do a great job of that. I think Lord and Miller are going to have a blast doing it. And we saw the tone of the movie. What they've never really captured in the trailers is the tone of the film that we saw at CinemaCon was the perfect tone. You know, they've kind of made it more, they've gone more comedic, I think, in the trailers, not so much the last one, but the CinemaCon presentation was chef's kiss. So it made me realize that I think this is going to be one of my favorite, if not my favorite movie of the year.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? We've got the runtime now for Project Hail Mary. Something I normally don't really care about runtimes, but having known the book first, curious to see how they're going to fit this all in. I can't wait for this movie, one of my most highly anticipated films of the year. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, we kind of live in a world right now, a dark, dismal, sad world, where television production companies no longer know how to make a season of television per year. Just like all the cavemen did with much inferior technology.
Stone knives and bear skins.
That's right. You know, and little cameras with film that they would have to shoot on. That those olden times, they yet somehow figured out a way to do 23 episodes of a season every single year. Yet today, we have to wait 3 years to get the next 30-minute 6 episodes. It's sad. It's really sad. But, Rob, there is yet hope, because we've started to see some movement back towards more traditional release schedules, such as in the case of The Pit. the Emmy award-winning show that's been sweeping everything all over the world. Guess what? Put out a season last year, put out a season this year. We've also heard other shows starting to do that. And one of the most kind of high-profile ones of those shows is Daredevil. And Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is indeed back. And just to remind us all that fact, they dropped their first trailer today. The first trailer for Daredevil. And by the way, Rob, it snuck up on us. This thing comes out in 2 months.
I know, in March.
It's not a year away. It comes out literally in less than 2 months. Comes out a few days short of 2 months from now. And it's coming, and the new trailer is dropped. Now, look, I'll say this. I don't think season 1 of Daredevil Born Again was on the same level of the Daredevil series we got over at Netflix.
Right.
That being said, I still very much enjoyed it. Like, I still thought it was a really good first effort on kind of relaunching Daredevil and coming back out of the gate. And I mean, I didn't love everything about it, but overall, I had a very good time with it. And I thought, while not on the same level, Rob, this is what I said last year. I said, I feel like it is worthy of the Daredevil name. I felt like season 1 of Daredevil Born Again, while not on the same level as the Netflix stuff, I thought it was at least worthy of the name. And I'm excited to see where they go with season 2. And now, man, we got some looks at stuff which look just great. We got a couple of these things, of course. We've got the original characters come back. Kingpin, of course, is kind of the low-key MVP of this whole thing. It looked great. Having Jessica Jones pop in there as well looked wonderful. I thought the trailer was really great. I really enjoyed it for a first trailer. Rob, you had a chance to check out the Daredevil Born Again Season 2 trailer. What did you think about it?
I thought it looked great to me. I mean, look, I'm more of a Jessica Jones fan than you, so it was nice to see her. I was surprised to see how much she was actually in the trailer. The action looked great. It looked like it's a lot of fun seeing what Kingpin was doing. I mean, does he get in the ring? Does he fight somebody? It made me, there you go. It made me very excited to see this season of Daredevil. I'm really looking forward to it. Like you said, I believe, they were going to make this show originally. I think it was going to be 18 episodes, and then they retooled the whole thing. So I think the reason they were able to give it to us so quickly is in the retooling, they knew where they were going to go. They knew where they were going to take it. So I would assume that it's just ramping up. I think we're going to get an even better season with season 2 than the first season. So my level of excitement after seeing this trailer is up. Can't wait.
By the way, I just want to point out that Vincent D'Onofrio is 66 years old. I want you to look at this guy. He's 66 years old. Dear heavens. He looks great. Anyway, yeah, I was really big on it. Now, Rob, let me ask you this. Obviously, the first season of Daredevil Born Again, not perfect, right? It had some ups and downs, right? I think we both quite enjoyed it, but it had its ups and downs. Going into season 2, what would be some key things for you that you're going to be looking for to see where they hopefully pick up, improve on what they did in season 1? What are going to be some key kind of general areas that you like to see them tighten up on going into the next season?
Well, obviously, I want to see the conflict, most of all, between Daredevil himself and Kingpin. Now that they kind of know who each other are, I want to see Kingpin's leadership of New York kind of go off the rails. I know that he's going to go after masked vigilantes or something like that. And I want to see Daredevil have to bring in more people. And obviously, whatever that clash is going to be, I want to see it go over the top. And I want to see a fight. A knockdown, drag out, brutal ass fight between Kingpin and Daredevil.
Now I see somebody in our live chat, I think it was Chuck All-Star, was saying, hey, there was no Punisher in the trailer. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob. I believe we already had it officially confirmed that Punisher is not in season 2. I believe that's what we heard, that the next time we're going to see Punisher is probably in his own little special that he's going to be. But I think they've confirmed that already. Have they not?
I think so.
which
Yeah.
is odd from a story perspective, not because you got to have Punisher in every season. I'm not saying that, but understanding that where we left off with Daredevil in season 1 was, I've got to build an army. Like I've got to build an army. So you get Jessica Jones coming in there. That's a good spot. But apparently it would make sense that you would have Frank, but I guess he's not going to be there. Let me ask you this. With the comments we've heard from Mike Coulter recently, and knowing for like seeing comments online from the dude who played Iron Fist for years, has basically been saying, hey, I'm ready to come back and play Iron Fist more if you want me to. What do you think the chances are that we do quietly get Mike Coulter as Luke Cage and get Iron Fist joining Jessica Jones in this season with Daredevil? Do you think that's a possibility? Kind of bring all the Defenders back?
Yeah, I think it's a possibility. I think you can't, like, to lose that opportunity. I just can't see them doing that. I mean, the thing is, Daredevil, I think, is their crowning achievement, at least in the Netflix area. It was probably, I think, the best of the Marvel TV shows, the pre-Disney Plus TV shows, I think, by a wide margin. And I think that I really like the Luke Cage series. The first half I thought was great. Yeah, it was
the first
great.
half of season 1 was good. Then it kind of fell off after Cottonmouth left.
I would like to see, because I love Mike Coulter. I have a man crush on Mike Coulter. I loved him. He played a Catholic priest in Evil, the TV series Evil. He was great. I really liked him. I loved him in the role. I'd love to see them all come back, because Daredevil's going to need friends to fight the Kingpin's anti-vigilante squad. I would imagine. So I can't wait. I hope they bring them all back. I mean, how can you bring Jessica Jones back and not bring the rest of them back? Even Iron Fist.
You can. I mean,
I know.
I'm okay I'm okay if they bring back Iron Fist. I'm okay. I'm also very okay if they don't. But, right. And maybe give the character a shot at redemption. I don't know.
It's all about the writing.
Yeah.
The writing and I think they're going to go all in for this. And I would expect this. I think season 1 was a ramp up, and I think that it's going to go over the top with this new season. At least that's what I would hope.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What did you think about the Daredevil season 2 trailer? I thought it was really quite good. I mean, I think there's a lot of room for growth from season 1, even though I really liked it. And I thought the trailer was pretty tantalizing. I don't know what stood out to you the most. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it's time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to bid good afternoon to writer, director, producer Robert Meyer Burnett. Rob, great job as always, my friend. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Hopefully, Jonathan will be back up on his feet and ready to be in here tomorrow, so we can all do it in studio tomorrow. That'll be good to have you in here.
I missed that, Jonathan.
All right, guys. With all that down, let's do it, shall we? Let's get over to your comments and questions. Now, as I warned off the beginning of the show, I did turn off the super chats about 20 minutes into the show, so you're not able to send it anymore at this point. But for all you guys who sent them in already, let's go over and get to those questions you sent in, shall we? And we're going to start off here with Big Dog Bruce, who writes, "Hey, John, I watched Lady in the Water, my sympathies, man, for the first time yesterday, and my God, this movie is awful. Worst movie I've seen since 50 Shades Darker. I'll tell you what." Now, listen, I'm somebody who cheers for the Shamhammer. I really do. And for Shyamalan, listen, when I say Shamhammer, I legitimately mean that as a befriended nickname. I don't mean that as a diss. I mean, the Shamhammer. I'm a fan of the Shamhammer, and I cheer for the Shamhammer. I really do. But Lady in the Water is one of the worst motion pictures ever made in cinematic history. It is pure drivel on every single level. And it is infamously, the way the urban legends go, the movie that separated Disney from M. Night, because apparently as M. Night was, you're prepping this movie, he had this famous dinner with one of the big executives at Disney, and the exec at Disney brought some concerns. and said, I don't know, M. Night. Maybe having the asshole character be a movie critic that you viciously kill isn't a good idea. And I don't know, M. Night. Maybe putting yourself in the movie as a writer whose writings are so brilliant, he's destined to save the world. Maybe putting yourself in the movie as the greatest writer of all time whose writing is destined to save the world, maybe that's not a good idea. And maybe everything about this movie is not a good idea. And M. Night was so angry, he left Disney, and the rest is history. They made the movie, and the movie is absolute crap. Listen, I have my infamous unholy trinity, which I believe are the three worst wide release Hollywood produced movies of all time. And that unholy trinity is Highlander 2, Halle Berry's Catwoman, and why am I freezing on the name of the John Travolta sci-fi epic? L. Ron Hubbard's not Battle of the Planets, not because that's awesome. G-Force is awesome. I will fight you. I will fight you over that. Battlefield Earth. Yeah. Go gotcha, man. Forever. Battle of the Planets. G-Force. Mark, Jason, Tiny, Princess, Keop. Gotcha. Anyway, I will fight you for that. So that's the unholy trinity, right? That is the unholy trinity. But I think maybe in the number 4 or number 5 spot of the worst wide release Hollywood cinematic film of all time might be Lady in the Water. It is just that bad. Anyway, sorry you had to watch that, big dog. All right, next up. And a big shout out to Marcus Y for the 7 Zark 7 reference. That's right. 7 Zark 7. All right, next up, we got Joe Adonis T, who writes, hey, John and Jonathan. Jonathan's obviously not here today. There are 2 things I have to say about this show. Lord Ashford loves his sheep. God, that was good. And is I guess that's it. So anyway, yeah, listen, I'll be honest with you, though. I loved episode 1 of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the new Game of Thrones show. Absolutely loved it. I found episode 2 a little uneventful, to be honest with you. I think episode 2 is a little bit uneventful. I'm hoping it picks up a little bit more. Don't get me wrong. It was still nice to watch. It was good. It was good. Just nowhere near as good as episode 1. So I'm hoping that picks up a little bit as we go into episode 3. Next up. The Inedible Hulk writes, who is He-Man for? I'm 40, no kids, watch it in the 90s. My kids know Scooby. My kids know Scooby-Doo, Transformers, but not this. Does anyone under 50 care about the IP? I'll tell you what, that's a fair question. It's a fair question. My response to it would, and again, I have no idea if this movie's going to be any good or not. I do trust in Travis Knight, but again, we don't know if the movie's going to be good or not. But my response to the question about who's this movie for is to say, well, who was Avatar for when it first came out? Well, there was no history with Avatar. It was for a new audience. And you have to forgive me, guys, I'm still fighting this cough. My answer to who's this movie for is partially for the nostalgia of the people who remember the show. But I also think they're doing it in such a way to appeal to a new audience. Now, whether they're successful in that or not is totally yet to be seen. That's totally to be seen. But I would say a big chunk of who they're aiming for is new audience. That they believe they have a movie that's like, even if you didn't know anything about He-Man. By the way, did you notice it's also not called He-Man? It's just called Masters of the Universe. I think they are going to try to hook in the nostalgia for the older audience that remembers the cartoon, but I also think they're just going for a new audience. So whether they're successful at it or not, we'll find out. We'll see. All right. Thanks for that, man. Next up, BR Guy. Bry Guy writes, Is it an overreaction to think that Gunn should wait for Matt Reeves to finish the trilogy before releasing Brave and the Bold, especially since the internet hated the writer news? Yes, that's a massive overreaction. First of all, the thing I want to point out, Bry Guy, is I am one of the guys. I'm one of them who does not like the news of who he got to write it. Okay. Doesn't mean it can't be great. Maybe it turns out great. I hope it does. I mean, I did like Flash. I thought Flash was a really good movie. I'll die on that hill. I'll fight anybody over that. I think Flash is a really entertaining film. Not one of the greatest comic book films of all time, but I thought it was really entertaining. But she's also made some crap. So I'm one of the guys that does not like the news about who's writing The Brave and the Bold. But, and I don't think this is an exaggeration at all, I don't know that 1% of the general movie-going audience has any idea who's writing Brave and the Bold. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say I think it is less than 1% of the movie-going audience that is even remotely aware that, oh, the girl who wrote The Birds of Prey and the Fabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn is the same person who wrote this Batman Brave and the Bold movie. Less than 1% of people outside of those of us who make shows like this and watch shows like this are even remotely aware that that's the case. So that is going to have zero effect on anything. It's going to have zero effect on anything. So no, I don't think they need to put pause. Listen, this is the DCU, man. If you don't have to come out of the gate first with a Batman movie and get Batman into the universe, but as you're establishing a new DCU, you got to have Batman in there. You have to. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. You have to have Batman in there. 100% you do. And the very fact that they didn't feel the need to rush him out the gate, that's good, but you can't go 3 years or 4 years without having Batman in there. You just can't. You got to have him in there. Oh, by the way, thank you, man. We just had Pat for President 1. Pat is my dad's name. Well, my dad's actual name is Pasquale, because many of you know I'm Italian. My dad's name is actually Pasquale. My name is actually Giovanni. I'm sure many of you knew that too, but my dad's actual name is Pasquale, but everybody calls him Pat. Anyway, Pat for President sent in 20 gift memberships. Thank you for that, Pat for President. It's very generous of you, dude. Yeah, there's no reason you can't go ahead with that. No one's going to confuse it. You know, at the very most, you know, one of my siblings went, wait a minute, I thought Batman was the one when that movie was Zoe Kravitz. Oh, you know, this is a totally different version of it. Oh, okay. It's not going to confuse anybody. It's not going to muddy the waters. It's perfectly fine. They don't have to wait. All right. Next up. Thanks for the question, Bry Guy. I appreciate it, man. Next up, we had Amin write, will we ever get that Tintin sequel that's been in development hell with Jackson publicly stating he wants to direct again? Could that involve Tintin? You know what? This is a question that has been asked on AMC Movie Talk, Collider Movie Talk, for your consideration, the John Campea Show. It's been asked all the time, including by myself. Because remember, the original plan for Tintin was that Steven Spielberg and Peter Jackson were going to do them, and that Peter Jackson would produce one that Steven Spielberg directs, and then they would trade places and Steven Spielberg would produce and Peter Jackson would direct, right? It's never going to happen. I mean, they keep saying they're going to do it. They keep saying it, but I really don't think it's ever going to happen at this point. It's just been too long. Steven Spielberg is now he's much closer to the end of his career than he is to the middle of his career. And he's got a number of high profile projects he wants to do. I would love to see it, but I just can't see it happening. I hope I'm wrong. I haven't heard anything. I'm just saying my guess, my speculation as a film fan is that I don't think we're ever going to get it. All right. Next up, we've got Another one from Amin, who writes, if they reboot it, should it stay, you're talking about Tintin, should it stay animated or go live action? I feel it can be a big franchise if a studio commits. Oh, I think you're wrong. The comics still sell well overseas. I don't think Tintin can be a big financial success. I mean, I could be wrong about that. Could be wrong. Let me go and look this up here, shall we? Tintin box office. Let's see what The Adventures of Tintin, back when it came out in 2012. I mean, it didn't do bad. It made $370 million. That ain't bad. $370 million worldwide. Now, that had a lot to do with really getting behind the whole idea of Steven Spielberg, Peter Jackson, all that kind of stuff. I still don't think it would do that well. It certainly wouldn't be a big franchise. Listen, I think it had its chance. If they had come out like 3 years after the first one came out and did another one, maybe they could have rode momentum. But again, I hope I'm wrong. But I don't think we're ever going to see another, at least not the Steven Spielberg, Peter Jackson Tintin. I just don't see them doing it. And even if they try to reboot it, I don't see another studio trying to do that right now. But again, I could be wrong. Hopefully I am. All right. Thanks for that, Amin. Silent Ghost writes, does Sinners having the highest critic and audience Rotten Tomatoes score between its competitors affect the Oscar winning chances? Zero chance. I should say zero impact. The Oscar voters don't care what the critic score says or what the audience score says. They vote what they think. And by the way, a movie that has, say, an 89% Rotten Tomatoes critic score and a movie that has an 83%, that doesn't mean that the 89% movie is better than the 83% movie. That is not what Rotten Tomatoes scores mean. You know, I'm still surprised to this day how few people understand what Rotten Tomatoes is and what the scores mean. You know, I feel like every day I have to have this discussion with somebody online that says, Rotten Tomatoes gave this movie this score. No, Rotten Tomatoes doesn't give scores. They don't give any movie a score. They never say what they think is a good movie or a bad movie. All Rotten Tomatoes does is go out and get the aggregate of all the film critics and just tell you in a mathematical formula what percentage of the critics like it. Not love it, think it's the best, just what percentage of them like it. It's meant to just be a general guide to say, hey, listen, you may or may not like the movie, but just so you know, out of the 300 critics that saw this, 82% of them liked it. Some of them liked it more than others. Some of them thought it was one of the best of the year. Some of them thought it was just a little bit better than okay, but 83% of them liked it. So the odds are that you'll probably like it too, but it's not a guaranteed 83% chance that you may like it. So just because a movie has, say, like an 86 and one has an 83, that doesn't mean overall critics thought the 86 one was better, because maybe in the 86, just every single one of them thought it was, oh, that was really good. It was good. But the 83 one had a bunch of people who thought, oh, this is a top 5 film of the year. Anyway, all that is just to say that no, Sinners, Rotten Tomatoes critic score, and the audience scores is going to have zero impact on how well or not well Sinners does at the Academy Awards. By the way, can we just hammer this down? Is it true that Mark Ruffalo got fired by Disney? No. There's absolutely no legitimacy to that whatsoever. It's made up bullshit. It has no source. Can you just put that away? I'm just like crazy how many people I've had writing to me the last couple of days. Oh, did you hear that Mark Ruffalo got fired by Disney? No. No, he didn't. Okay, so just put that away. All right. Anyway, let's keep going here. Next up, Matan writes, the events in Iran, we're not going to get into anything like that. JC Corpa, just because it's way, not only is it outside the scope of movies and everything, which I will comment on stuff that's outside the scope of movies and stuff like that too. But if you're going to get into stuff that's outside the scope of movies and TV, and it's also totally outside of the scope of me having any knowledge about it or any understanding of it whatsoever, then I'm not even going to wade into those waters. Just so you know. I just think it'd be disrespectful otherwise to do it. All right. Let's see. JC Kropa writes, first of all, sends in a super chat badge to be supportive. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Also writes, hey, John and crew, just me today. I've been listening since the AMC days. Thank you so much. And want to thank you for you getting me through some dark times. I wanted to, if any of you have tuned into the new Percy Jackson Disney Plus series. Okay, so I'm glad you brought it up because I keep forgetting about it. I watched season 1 and it was great. I really enjoyed Percy Jackson season 1. But like a number of other shows that I really loved season 1, I am behind on getting caught up. I haven't started watching Fallout season 2 yet, and I loved Fallout. Haven't started watching season 2 yet. I'm finally just now starting to get caught up on The Diplomat season 3, which, by the way, if you haven't watched The Diplomat, watch The Diplomat with Kerry Russell and Rufus Sewell. It's fantastic. It's the only show that I would ever kind of compare to West Wing. Anyway, it's absolutely fantastic. If you've not watched The Diplomat, you totally got to watch The Diplomat. It's great. I absolutely love it. But anyway, so there's a number of shows that I really love that I haven't been caught up on. And of course, Percy Jackson was one of them. So I'm not caught up on season 2 yet, but I did watch season 1 and I loved it. Got to watch season 2. And by the way, like a lot of people are pointing out in the live chat that we've got Wonder Man tonight. I've already booked my night off. I think it drops at 6:00 and they're dropping the whole series at once, which is a bit of a red flag, but I've booked my whole evening off. I'm just going to sit down and watch Wonder Man tonight. Really looking forward to it. All right, let's keep going here. Next up, we've got Silent Ghost, who writes, I'm rewatching Sinners and dissecting it for my senior thesis. Nice. Have you went frame by frame on a film before? Do you have any advice on how to do it? No, and honestly, I don't think there's a lot of value in going frame by frame through a film because, oh, my ankle is itchy. Because that's not how storytellers make their movies. They don't do it frame by frame. Good storytellers like Ryan Coogler tell their stories in a flow. Now, that doesn't mean you can't do deep analysis. If you want to see one of my deep analyses, that doesn't necessarily mean as good. Go back and watch, I think I did like a full half-hour breakdown of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, where I kind of broke down like the exact main reasons why I thought the film failed. And so I have done things like that before, but I wouldn't break it down to like a frame by frame sort of thing, because you should really go in and try to analyze them as in terms of flow of the story, because that's how directors really try to make their films. Anyway, good luck with you on that, man. All right, next up. We've also got Silent Ghost, who writes, John, thanks for being honest about not planning to come to West Virginia. I think that's what WV means. That way I don't have to have false optimism. Will you do movie meetups after you retire? No. I'll probably still, like after I retire, which is still a ways off. After I retire, I will probably still do like a 1 or 2 time a week podcast, like audio only podcast. I'll probably still do that. And I might even do the odd out of theater reaction. I might even still do a couple of those a month, maybe just for fun. But I will definitely not be doing movie meetups because I'm not going to, first of all, I'm a nobody already. The fact that the number of people show up to our movie meetups for me right now is insane. It's crazy as a nobody. But, once I'm no longer doing an active YouTube channel, I'm going to be triply a nobody. And there's not going to be anybody who's going to want to come to movie meetups once I'm not doing the YouTube channel. So, no. So no, I will not be doing movie meetups once I retire. But again, that's a ways off. All right. Next up, we've got Mitch, who writes, thoughts on October Sky. I feel like it flew under most radars and should be watched more. I used to randomly watch it whenever I'd see it on TV, much like Forrest Gump, young Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah, young Jake Gyllenhaal. And who else? It was Jake Gyllenhaal. It was about, he wanted to become like a rocket guy and stuff like that. Chris Cooper was in it with him. Girl from Star Wars. A girl from Last Jedi and from Jurassic Park. Laura Dern. Laura Dern was in it. It was Laura Dern, right? I think it was Laura Dern. Anyway. You know what? It's been a long time because that's got to be over 20 years old, that movie. Maybe even 30? I don't think it's 30, but I know it's over 20 years old. I don't think I've seen it since it came out. Oh, somebody's saying it was 99, 26 years old. I don't think I've seen it in 25 years. I don't think I've seen it in like 25 years. I think I remember enjoying it. But it wasn't very memorable to me, to be honest with you. Maybe I need to go back and give it a rewatch. Maybe I need to go back and give it a rewatch. All right. Thanks for that, man. Next up, Zodley writes, here's a doomsday question I think you can answer. All right. Marvel said that Chair Watch was about half of the cast. No, they didn't. Other people said it. Marvel didn't say it. From what you know, is that true? It's always funny to me. And this is part of the reason why I think it's so important that people understand like real information, false, and where information comes from. Marvel never came out and said that's half the cast. Now, maybe I'm mistaken. And I just missed it. But I have never once seen Kevin Feige come out and officially say, oh yeah, Chair Watch, that's half the cast. I've never seen him say that. So if you guys know differently, by all means, let me know, but I don't think that's true. Yeah, I've heard what Michael Scott is saying here. They said room for more. I've heard them say stuff like that. I've heard them say, oh, there's more. I've heard them say, things like that along that nature. But I've never heard them say that, they've said that that's only half the cast. That's not true. They've never said it. So I can't even answer the question because the premise of the question is not true. They've never said that that's only half the cast. They've never said that. All right. Thanks for sending that in, Zodley. Next up, Phoenix writes, one of two. Regal just announced that they're playing a choose-your-own-adventure movie called Hypnosis Mike, where audiences vote decisions on an app. The film has 48 paths to 7 endings, which is very based on what your audience votes for. The movie is about a post-apocalyptic world where conflict is resolved through rap battles, and you vote on the winner of the rap battles. What the hell? You know what? Have any of you guys, when you were kids, ever get the books, the choose your own adventure books, where you're like, if you decide to fight the goblin, turn to page 71 and stuff like that? I used to love those when I was a kid. I used to love those which is part of the reason I'm a Dungeons and Dragons guy. But yeah, I used to love those. Anyway, if you could, in an interesting way, by the way, I've never even heard of this, but if you could work out the kinks and make it have good flow and somehow find a way to make it quality to once in a while, I would never want to see a lot of movies like this, but every once in a while, put something in theaters that has a little bit of an interactive nature with it. That could be fun. As a small, it's like in investing. Like I have like 80% of my investments in large things, the S&P 500, some ETFs and things like that. But then I have a little bit on the side that goes into other things. Like I have a little bit of my investments that I put into gold. I put about 5% of my overall investments into gold, a little bit, just kind of hedge and be a little bit of a complement, a little bit into bonds, that sort of thing. If you could do something like this where every once in a while, just like 2%, 1%, have a movie come out or a project of some kind come out where it's interactive with the audience, where there's an element of choose your own adventure with it, that could be good. That could be fun. But it's like Siku AK is saying, it's got to be executed well. Like, because it could be really dumb and really boring really fast. But something like that could be fun. A little bit here and there could be fun. I'll be interested in seeing what comes out of this. Thanks for letting me know about it, Phoenix. All right. R. Dank writes, I'm someone who usually avoids plot leaks, but do you think knowing the Doomsday plot would make me let me try this again. Do you think knowing the Doomsday plot would make me enjoy it more or find it more enjoyable? Or if you go back in time, would you rather go in blind? Well, that will vary from person. Everybody's different, right? Like, okay, I know the plot to Avengers Doomsday. I know everything that happens in it. Now, for me personally, it has only made me more excited to see it. It's only made me, like, listen, guess what, guys? I know everything that happens in Project Hail Mary. Because I've gone through the audiobook 3 times. And yet, just because I know it, I now can't wait to see it. Knowing the book has made me far more excited to watch Project Hail Mary than before I read the book. All right? I am far more excited to see Project Hail Mary because I've read the book than I was before I read the book. And I am now today far more excited to see Avengers Doomsday because I know everything that happens in it than I was before I found out. No, don't get me wrong. Before I found out everything that happens in Doomsday, I was still excited about it. Like, I was very much looking forward to it. I was excited to see it. It's an Avengers movie. Of course I was. But for me personally, finding out everything about it has only like doubled my excitement. It's only doubled it. But not everybody is the same. Not everybody's the same. A lot of people are completely the opposite of me, that don't want to know anything. That if they know that such and such pops up, oh, that ruined the movie for me. I mean, I find that kind of silly, but that's just how some people are, and that's okay. Now, listen, man, I'll tell you what. I have had people tell me that, like, significant people tell me, John, you should totally just make a number of videos about all these things that happen in Doomsday because they will blow up. Every single one. Don't do one video where you reveal 10 things. Make one video for each little piece of information that you reveal, and it's going to totally blow up. And they're totally right. It completely would. And if everybody was like me, where finding this stuff out has only made me more excited for the movie, more hungry for the movie, more pumped for the movie. If I thought everybody was like me, I would totally do it. I would start today and I would drop one video about one piece of information from Doomsday. And then tomorrow I would drop one more. And then I would make like 50 of them and get whatever millions of views. But the reality is, not everybody is like me. And there's a lot of people who don't want to know what goes out there. And, listen, this all goes back to about, by the way, I got to get a shirt made. I'm going to get a shirt made that says, "Look at Toby's dick." I'm totally going to get that shirt made. But it goes back to that, right? Like when I put out the picture of the 3 Spider-Men together before Spider-Man No Way Home came out, something that was reported on a year before I ever put that picture out, and a video was put out of Andrew Garfield in the movie like weeks before I put that picture out. But regardless, when I put up that picture, I had tons of other pictures that I didn't put out. When I put up that picture, of course, I thought it was a fake one. And as soon as I found out it was real, like it was only online for like 7 minutes or whatever. And then I pulled it down, but people had copied and pasted it, totally understandably. But you know, it upset a lot of people, and I get it. It upset a lot of people. And you know, that is always something that I don't give a shit if people are mad at me. I could care less. I don't know you. So why would I give 2 squirts of piss if you like me, don't like me, or mad at me? I don't care. But what I do care about is lessening somebody else's movie going experience. I care about that. I really do. That one will keep me up at night. And because there are a lot of people who are not like me and would find getting that information something that would hurt their movie going experience, then that's something I'm not willing to do. I know I'm leaving a lot of money on the table. I know I'm leaving a lot of clicks and a lot of views and all that. I know there's some other places that if they had the information I had, they would be posting this information like crazy. I get it. And I by the way, I don't blame them either. I don't blame them. I don't take that as any kind of condemnation for me. It's not. I don't blame them. I'm just saying for me, here's what I will do though. Here's what I'll do. If something comes out and it starts making its way around, I think what I will do is, okay, that thing is out. All right, I'll confirm it. That I did that last week. There was something that came out and started getting around and it was out and I'm not the one who put it out. And I said, okay, I will let you know that one's true. I think I might do that a little bit. Like once something already gets out and it doesn't come from me and it's out there and it's running around, I'll come out and say, hey, that's true, or come out and say that's not true. Maybe I'll do that, but I don't know. Well, like we'll see as we go. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. All I can say though is I'm very excited about Avengers Doomsday. And I'll say this. I'm going to give you one thing here. Ready? Ready? And it's not blatant, so you won't know exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm going to throw one thing out there, okay? There's a new character in the movie. And when I say new character, I mean new to the MCU. There's a new character in this movie that y'all shouldn't get attached to. Somebody you probably shouldn't get attached to. Don't get too attached to them. Now, you have no idea who I'm talking about. You have absolutely no idea who I'm talking about. That was vague enough. And I don't think it's a big thing to say, hey, going into this big, large tentpole action comic adventure film, someone dies. I'm just saying there's somebody in this movie that you already know is going to be in the movie that you should not get attached to. I'm just going to leave it at that. All right, let's keep going here, shall we? All right, next up. Animesh writes, hot take, The Dark Knight slowly fades, loses its edge on repeat viewings. Still really great, though, but Raimi's Spider-Man 2 somehow hits harder on every single viewing. You know, I'll agree with you that I just continue to appreciate Spider-Man 2. I just really, really do. I don't know that I agree, though. Look. We're talking about your individual experience with my individual experience. All I can say is that my individual experience is different than yours. When I watch Dark Knight, and I don't watch it every year, I watch it every 2 or 3 years. When I watch it, I don't find it loses its edge at all. Again, that's just my experience compared to your experience. We have 2 different experiences with it, and one is no more valid than the other. But I'll just say for me, that's not true for me. But yeah, the Spider-Man one, 100%. It never loses any of its potency. I always find it to be a really enjoyable watch, just as sharp as the first time I ever saw it. I absolutely love that movie. All right, thanks, Nimesh. Next up. Silent Ghost writes, how do you turn off super chats on a live stream? I watch another live stream that doesn't know how to. I could relay the info. It's not difficult. There's literally a big switch where you have to turn on super chats. Like, it's the same switch. The switch you use to turn on super chats is the exact same switch to turn them off. So it's really, really simple. Really, really simple. All right. RJ Brando writes and sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, RJ. Appreciate that, man. Deadpool and She-Hulk would be great characters to use for Doomsday spots. That's true, because they're fourth wall breaking characters. It doesn't matter that they aren't in the movie. Just use their fourth wall meta chaos for fun between the actual trailers. You know what? That is a great idea. That is a great idea. Because, we've been talking a lot about, if you're going to do Doomsday, lean into it, like really own it, like do it in your marketing, get fully behind it. Using characters, you know what? I'll go one step further. Use characters like She-Hulk and Deadpool because they're fourth wall breakers, but also use like Anya Taylor-Joy's characters. The unborn baby in Dune 2, she's like, basically sees the future. It doesn't quite fourth wall break, but it's kind of in that same vein. Like, use them all, go hog wild with the promotion of it. I love the idea, RJ. I love the idea. And thank you for supporting us on that level, man. That's really generous of you. All right. Chris Parker writes, I live in New Zealand, but I'm really wanting to attend CinemaCon. I see anyone can buy a ticket, but how hard is it to get into all the various studio panels? Well, technically speaking, it's not that just anyone can buy a ticket. You have to be connected somehow, some way to the industry. Now, you can lie. And I think there are people, actually, no, I know there are people who have just said they're in the industry and they're not. But theoretically speaking, they could cancel your ticket if they found out you weren't. Theoretically. But no. One of the great things about CinemaCon is that the main panels are held in like this, I can't remember how many seats. I'm going to say 5,000. The Celine Dion Theater in Caesar's Palace, it's like 5,000 seats. And because it's not a fan event, it's an industry event, that's more than enough to seat everybody. So I have never had a problem ever getting into any of the panels. Or they're not panels, they're presentations. I've never had a single problem getting into any of the presentations. I mean, you spend $1,500 for a ticket. So you damn well better be guaranteed a seat in the presentations. But yeah, I don't think there's any problem getting in that. Because again, it's $1,500. You can buy a MacBook Pro for what it costs you to get a ticket to go to CinemaCon. So yeah. So there you go. All right. Next up, but it is an experience, man. Sin Vendetta writes, Hey, John, not sure if you were still doing the movie meetups at AMC Tyler, but if I may make a movie request, maybe you could do it for Project Hail Mary. That would be pretty dope. Yeah, I'm definitely going to do a movie meetup at my home movie theater, which is the AMC Tyler Galleria in Riverside, California. That's the one Ann and I go to the most. But the problem is, and I was kind of explaining this the other day because somebody was asking me if I would do a movie meetup at like Avengers Doomsday. And I said, here's the problem. I like to do it midweek for a movie that's not going to sell a lot of tickets. Because that does two things. One, it gives us a very tangible way to support the local movie theater. Like, hey, probably only like 5 people were going to go to this screening of this movie. So why don't we sell 80 more tickets to it, right? To support the movie theater. And secondly, we want to make sure that the people, or as many people as possible who are in that movie theater, are there for the movie meetup. Like, it doesn't help us to say, like, opening weekend for Project Hail Mary. Well, if it's going to be 80% sold out, what's the point of doing a movie meetup if only like 15 people who want to come to it are able to get a ticket for it? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it could be for Project Hail Mary, but if we did do it for something like Project Hail Mary, we'd probably wait till it was out in theaters for 2 or 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Just to make sure that, you know, we could accomplish those 2 goals. At least that's the goal at any rate. All right. Thanks for that, Sin Vendetta. Next up, Healing Through Cinema. I like the username. Writes, you know, the most heartbreaking thing about the Flash movie is that Michael Keaton's Batman. Just imagine saving Gotham for so many years, but yet this world still comes to an end. Thoughts? Thanks, y'all. I mean, but that's the same, like, kind of thought and discussion you can get into any multiversal movie, right? Or even take it to something like Back to the Future. By changing the past in Back to the Future, because, you know, Michael J. Fox comes back to the present and now his family life is great. Everything's wonderful. Things have changed. But, and I saw a great discussion on this once. I can't remember who had it, but I saw this great discussion on it. By changing the past the way Michael J. Fox does, it means there are ripple effects. It's the butterfly effect, right? Like, yeah, now his parents are rich and in love and successful, and Biff is this sniveling little guy. But it also means that at some point, 2 people who were going to meet and fall in love now don't, and the kids they were going to have now were never born. And so while he saved himself from fading away in the picture, by changing the past, Michael J. Fox Marty has condemned dozens, hundreds, thousands of other people from having them erased from history. So it's that same kind of question you get into. By the way, you don't hear a lot of people, everybody likes to think, oh, yay, Marty saved. No, Marty, I almost said Marvin. Marty literally probably wiped hundreds or thousands of people out of existence because he made his mom and dad a little happier and more rich. It's just an interesting sort of thing. Just an interesting little thing. Anyway, but yeah, you always get into that too with these alternate dimension things. It's like, wait a minute, if you do that, then it wipes out everything. And yeah, that's always a big question whenever you get into these multiple reality, multiple timeline kind of movies. It's a big one. All right. Last question of the day comes to us from Leon, the movie fan, who writes, hey, John, without spoilers, here we go. Does the Doomsday script explain who is the child of Steve Rogers? Let me just, in a mutual film brother kind of way, Leon, let me give you some shit. That's as a film brother, okay? Let me give you some brotherly shit on this. You need the script to tell you who's the child of Steve Rogers? Doesn't the trailer kind of give that away? It's the child of Steve Rogers and Captain Carter. I mean, that's their kid. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, right? Now, are you asking, because let me get you the wording right again. Hey, John, without any spoilers, does the Doomsday script explain who is the child of Steve Rogers? Like, are you asking if this child of Steve Rogers is like a recognizable Marvel hero that we know from something else? Like in the current timeline? Because of course Steve goes back in time. Because again, the question is obvious. Who's the child of Steve Rogers? He's the child of him and Carter. But if you're asking who it is later down the line, okay, let's assume for a second you're asking who is the kid later down the line. Well, there's a couple things to keep in mind. Like, I remember when that trailer first came out and we saw that Steve had a child. People asking, oh, could that child really be Tony Stark? Could the child actually be Black Widow? Could the child actually be... Well, guys, here's the thing. Whoever that child is, because correct me if I'm wrong, but when he goes back in time, doesn't he go back to like the 40s? The 1940s? I think it's like the 1940s. By the way, Billy's saying the new rock stars believe it's Doom posing as Steve's child for some bizarre reason. By the way, the new rock stars are awesome. I love the new rock stars. They're great and they're insightful and they're awesome. But I will say this, if they said that, that is not true. I'll put that one to rest. That one's not true. But just remember, I think it was like something in the 40s. So whoever that child is in modern MCU, that would now be an 80-year-old person. So it's not Black Widow. It's not, it's not Ant-Man. It's not Hawkeye. It's not, and like, it would literally be a character that would be in their 80s plus years old. So that wouldn't really be relevant. Now there's something I could say about Steve's kid. Now give me a second to ponder if I want to say it. Give me one more second. Give me 10 seconds here. All right, I am not going to say it. I've let the filter engage between brain and mouth. I'm not going to say it, but again, I'm just going to throw out there from a completely theoretical point of view. Just remember that whatever child he had then, that child would be in their 80s by the time we get to modern MCU storytelling. So just something to keep in mind. All right, guys, and that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who spent some time and sent in those questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the John Campea Show. Thank you guys very much for your support. Hey guys, don't forget to come on back and join us again tomorrow. Hopefully, I think we're going to have Jonathan back in tomorrow. He's been a little bit under the weather, kind of like me. So he's been home the last couple of days. Hopefully, he'll be back in studio. That means Rob will be back in studio, and hopefully, you'll be back too. So that'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.